Hey boys, welcome back to some more Nrl Supercoach 2025 season preview, preseason discussion, and it's going to be the final positional analysis discussion, Yap Fest, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to be the big guns here, the fullbacks. I'm making this. The trials actually have just been on the two games. I've watched them. Pretty, good solid games of footy. Not too much to glean from the two games. There's a little bit to talk about with the Warriors game. Honestly, a few players of interest there, but the other three teams, not a whole lot going on there. But good to see the footy back. It was honestly a couple of good games of footy. Couple of good games of football. So we're finally up to the final position here, and then I'm trying to think what will I do. Probably remake the team after all this discussion. We'll remake the team, have a look at what we are sitting on, and then we'll dive into some more stuff after it. But let's go through the big guns here. It's a very open position this year. Obviously, the main difference is the flex, which it's funny because the flex isn't necessarily three fullbacks, but I think 99% of people are going to have three fullbacks in the flex, which it's going to be a 50. Well, it's not 50-50 because a lot of people are going Iongi, the cheapie fullback, but it's going to be a big decision. Do you go 3-gun fullbacks, or do you go the tried and true 2-gun fullbacks and the added kicker of a cheapie fullback, which we've never really been able to have a cheapie fullback at the start of the season, even during the season. Like, there's been times during Buller, who else popped up? There's been a couple of cheapies over the years. I guess Keanu Kinney to an extent last year. There's been a couple throughout the years, like during the season, someone will pop up, and it's a bit of a, I guess, what's his name? The Trey Fuller for the Dolphins. He was a big decision last year for people to take the cash and the points on him. But to start the season with a cheapie in the fullback spot with 2 guns, it's going to be a tricky one. Now, originally when preseason opened, or before preseason, and we got the confirmation of a flex position, I was all aboard the cheapie fullback, Iongi. I was all aboard 2-gun fullbacks and Iongi as the cheapie. And as things progressed and the more I was looking at the fullbacks, I then swayed to going 3-gun fullbacks because it's so hard to pass up another top scoring player in the position that you can vice captain or captain. It's a very hard one to pass up. But I think I've switched back to probably going the cheapie in Iongi. But let's go through the big guns up front. We'll talk about who I am most keen on to start the year, and then we'll talk about the balance of the team with the cheapie or without. So starting out, the most expensive guy, James Tedesco, winding back the clock last year. He was in my team pretty early on when he started going on that run. He was outstanding. You couldn't go, like, I don't know how anybody could go him to start the season. I don't doubt he's going to continue to score well. I think the Roosters are going to heavily rely on him to start the year. I think he's going to be in absolutely everything because, the Roosters are missing a bunch of players. They've lost a bunch of players. They're missing quite a few to start the season. So it's going to be the Tedesco show, but I struggle to see them really piling on the points to start the year. It's a bit of a tough early draw, and over 900,000 with some of the other guys on offer, I just couldn't justify. I think Tedesco, again, he could be a guy who I would expect to lose some cash. Maybe not. You never know how the start of the season goes, but Tedesco definitely could be a guy later on over like Origin period, because again, I don't think I'd be shocked if Tedesco got back into the blue side. The fact Dylan Edwards has now he's got his crack. The Blues won the series. It would take something drastic, I think, for Edwards to lose the spot now and Tedesco to get it back. As good as Tedesco has been, I think it's probably time that his place has been sort of filled. So Tedesco over the Origin period, dropping a bit of cash. He definitely is a guy on the watch list. If he bottoms out a bit. Moving on, Tommy Trbojevic. I gotta say, Tom, he's straight into the team. He is not gonna budge from the team. First picked, or one of the first picked in my side. Again, the only way he's not gonna find himself in the side if there's an injury. Like the Manly have a. I mean, it's a good draw. Like they. It's not like a really difficult draw in like terms of who they play. It's not the easiest, but it's just the fact that they play the first 5 of 7 games at Brookie. They score well at Brookie. Tom Trbojevic, if he's ever going to be fit, it's going to be the start of the season. So I just can't not go him. I think not going Trbojevic, it's just... And there's an element of, like, watching football as well, right? Like, if you don't own a player and you're watching that team play, there's some players in the comp that you just can't enjoyably watch a game of football if they're on. And Tom Trbojevic is that guy. Like, he just... Some of the games early on at Brookie, it's going to be an absolute nightmare watching him. So, he's straight into the side. I know for a fact, and this is... We'll get into why I'm leaning towards not going 3-gun fullbacks later, but he did start... he started pretty well last year. I mean, an 81 in round 1 is very solid for a round 1 score. A 54, 86, 55. So, I mean, the first month is like... It's pretty good. He did drop some cash. He started at 830 last year, so... He's coming in at a more expensive price. So, again, it's easy. Like, he's every chance to lose some money. But then he got I'm pretty sure I traded him out in round 4. And that's when he got... Because they were taking on Penrith. And he went 100, 82, 86. He was pretty damn rock solid. Missed a bunch of footy. Came back. And went pretty crazy at the end. I mean, a 45... and a 45, it's pretty abnormal for Tom to get 40s. Like, that's pretty rare unless he picks up an injury. If he plays 80 minutes, getting 40 points is... I think that he must have been playing in the centres. I think he played in the centres in this game. But he must have gone back to fullback. Or was that at the end? When did he play in the centres? Because he went 120, 174, 120, 105, 160, and then a 65. So, I mean, he showed last year, even with the injuries and whatnot, he still got the ceiling. He's still got that in him. So, Tommy straight in the side. Latrell Mitchell. Latrell Mitchell was another guy that he was pretty much locked in. I mean, this is where it gets tricky. At the moment, he is in the side over Kalyn Ponga, who we'll get to. Latrell Mitchell, though, it's a tricky one. He's looking fit. He's got a point to prove. Wayne Bennett back at the club. Surely that just helps Latrell Mitchell. Like, Wayne Bennett, he's a great coach. He's a great player, manager. I think it's only going to help Mitchell. But I don't necessarily think Wayne Bennett coming back is just going to make him score better in Supercoach. I just think he'll be in a better headspace with a Wayne Bennett around him. But yeah, he's looking fit. He's obviously going to have the goal kicking. The one caveat now with Mitchell, honestly, is Cody Walker. Cody Walker is... I think he's still under a bit of an injury cloud. I think he's still racing the clock to be fit for the opening rounds of the season, which, I gotta be honest, if Walker is out, I mean, I know there is the element of, if Walker's out, Mitchell maybe takes on a bigger role. They do take on they take on the Dolphins in round 1 of the season. I mean, the NRL definitely did that on purpose. Round 1, Wayne Bennett coaching against his old Dolphins. So Mitchell's probably in for a big round 1. It's a good matchup for him. The Dolphins not necessarily defensive powerhouses, even when Wayne Bennett was the coach. So I don't really know what to think about the Dolphins this year. Usually clubs go backwards pretty quickly once Wayne Bennett leaves, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen to the Finns. They've still got a good side. They got some good recruits coming over, so I hope not, but we'll see. Mitchell is just... he's another guy... He's not as difficult to watch as Tom, because you know for a fact Mitchell... It's not necessarily laziness. It sometimes is, but you know he goes in and out of games, right? He's not going to take 20 plus carries a game. He takes more 10 to 15, right? Typically, he makes those 10 carries count, though. When he carries the ball, he gets a couple of tackle breaks, he gets an offload, he'll have a couple of try assists. He scores his points very quickly, but unlike a Tom Trbojevic, who carries like 20 times a game, if Manly are thumping aside, Tommy is in everything, and he's getting hundreds, double hundreds almost, right? Mitchell can go massive, obviously. What did he go big though last year? He missed a bunch of footy. He did 150 against the Titans. Early, I mean, he started well. he started well, 110 and then an 80 against the Bronx. Obviously 36. I'm assuming he got sin-binned in round 3. And then a 69 and 73. He did start the season pretty hot last year. He's not a guy that scares me as much as not owning a Tom Trbojevic, but I would love to own him. I would love to own Mitchell. It's just, yeah, if Cody Walker is out, it definitely, I think you definitely could anti-pod Mitchell. He could still kill it. He could still carve up, but I mean, Cody Walker really unlocks Mitchell. If Cody Walker is playing, then I mean, yeah, obviously Mitchell is straight back into contention, and I think he is still my second pick fullback. But it is a tough call. Dylan Edwards, I'm just not keen on. I mean, obviously he was sensational with Cleary out of the side. He had the goal kicking. He was getting involved a lot more. I wouldn't be shocked if, without Luai now, he also just takes a bit more attacking play. So I wouldn't be shocked if he maintains like a better average than he did a couple of years ago. But I don't put him on. I just don't have him as high as Mitchell, Trbojevic, Ponga, even Drinkwater for that matter. I'm not that keen on Edwards to start the season. He's going to be reliable. You know he's going to be reliable. But yeah, it was the spree. I mean, if you look here, it was just the spree when Cleary was out. He was absolutely on fire. But if he doesn't get those attacking points, like... still good. It's still good, but yeah, I don't quite put him on the same level. Next up, Kalyn Ponga, obviously a very juicy prospect, 30%. I mean, it's very split. It's very split. Tommy 30%, Mitchell 27%, and then Ponga 30% as well. I can't fault it. The Knights have a very juicy start to the season. The biggest sort of question mark for Ponga is just, like, personally, I don't think the Knights are going to be that good this year. I think they are going to be one of the teams that will struggle. Just, I mean, simply put, it's the halves. Like, they're not... They can have good games for sure, but for one, they're not even set on their halves pairings. If you're not going into the season knowing who your halves are going to be for the year, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle from day dot, basically. Like, if your spine isn't set, it doesn't have to be the flashiest 7 and 6, but if it's not set, if it's going to be chopping and changing a bit, like, it's just not good for the team as a whole. Ponga can obviously do it without great halves inside of him. He's done it before, but there is that element. I remember very well last year, he started pretty slow. As you can see, a 50, a 45. He went well against the Storm. But a lot of people sold him, or maybe not a lot, but I mean, quite a few people sold him, and then he went huge, 117, 91, and then he got injured, unfortunately, in round 7. I know quite a few people traded him out in round 3, and then probably brought him back in like round 5 or 6, and then got the injury. So he missed a bunch of footy, and then he came back up and down a bit, but to finish the season, 120, 70, 100, 120, 100. I mean, very, very consistent for Ponga. He's obviously got the goal kicking. I guess I'd put him they play obviously very differently, but in the same Supercoach mold as Mitchell, like very similar. Like they both don't touch the ball as much as you want them to. Both kick goals, which makes up for that. And the touches they do have, they typically get some very handy attacking points. So it's a very big toss-up between Ponga and Mitchell. It is quite a saving. Like, that's the thing. If I was, like, straight up, if I'm going 3-gun fullbacks, I'm going Trbojevic, Mitchell, Ponga. Like that. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, honestly. But if I'm only going 2-gun fullbacks, it's Trbojevic, and then it's a flip of the coin between Mitchell and Ponga. And if Walker's not playing, honestly, the 70k you can save going Ponga over Mitchell, it's tempting. It's definitely very tempting. I'm very torn. I'm very torn on what to go. Part of me is hoping that Walker isn't fit for the start, because then I can justify, I guess, anti-podding in a sense. It's not really an anti-pod because he's still going like a high owned player, but I can justify not going Mitchell and going Ponga. But at the moment, I'm torn. But yeah, the Knights just have such a good draw to start the season. But I don't know, like, take you on West. Like, it's funny because, like, obviously West, yeah, they're a matchup you want to play. But again, for one, the start of the season, it should be the hardest to score points. Everyone's fresh. The attacks are a bit clunky. Like, it shouldn't be massive scoring games, like, from the get-go. And also, the Tigers have a lot to prove. They've got some big signings coming over. So I don't expect the Tigers to be absolute walkovers. I also don't think the Knights are going to be that good. So it's an interesting round 1. It's a very interesting round 1. We'll talk about some other pottish play. I mean, Drinkwater. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was half tempted by Drinky when I sort of totally forgot. Like, Drinkwater wasn't even in question earlier. I didn't even give him a thought. But obviously, with Val Holmes going, the goal kicker, it opens the door for someone, and it's probably Drinkwater. I know if the young Tom Duffy gets a gig to start the season, maybe he goal kicks, but I don't really expect him to get the start. Obviously, if Clifford is out injured, then yeah, Duffy comes in. But all things going to plan, I guess, then I would expect Drinkwater to take the goal kicking. The problem is I also don't have that higher hopes for the Cowboys this year. I mean, they've proven me wrong before. I've sometimes looked at their team and I'm like, I don't expect good things, and then they fucking they do some good things, but I don't know. I feel like the Cowboys might struggle early on. Few injuries, lost some players. So I don't know if Drinkwater, even with the goal kicking, I don't think I could. I don't think I could justify going Drinkwater over Ponga. Like, for 20k more to go Ponga, I know Drinkwater is a massive pod, but yeah. Again, the thing with pods is that you need them to score better, or they need to be a lot lower priced. If they're the same price and he's not going to necessarily score a lot more, obviously we don't know. He could, but they take on Manly away from home in round 1. I don't love it. Reece Walsh, next off the list here, is an exciting prospect. Obviously, the addition of Benny Hunt. It is an enticing little scenario Reece Walsh playing outside of Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds. I'm not concerned, but I am curious to see how Reynolds and Ben Hunt play together, because they are both very ball dominant. They're both halfbacks, really. They're both halfbacks. Ben Hunt can definitely play out wider, and he will, but will it open up Walsh more? Will they take more touches off him? I think it's a good thing. I do think it'll be a good thing for Walsh overall. I think he'll get more space. I mean, Ben Hunt is a dangerous ball runner. Yeah, I think he's not a bad shout. I actually prefer, if I was going like a pod route, I probably prefer the Walsh over Drinkwater. He doesn't have the goal kicking, obviously, with Reynolds there, but I just think the Broncos, I feel like they're going to start the season hot. I just have a good feeling that they're going to start pretty fast. There is the element of Maguire maybe reining it back. That's the only negative. I don't know. Maguire, he's a bit of an old school. He'd want the Broncos to do all the little things right, and defense. I'm sure he wants them to work on defense and all this and that. So maybe their attackers pushed to the side to start the season. I wouldn't be going Walsh, but I don't hate the pod play. Keanu Kinney, if he didn't have a bye in round one, it would be tempting for sure, Keanu Kinney, because I think he is going to go to another level this year. He was sensational at the back end of last year. He was great for the Kiwis. I think he's going to step it up a notch. But yeah, the buy in round one, I just couldn't justify going a 700k guy on a buy in the fullback spot. I think Kinney could be a perfect downgrade if one of these guys has a shocker to start the season, or God forbid an injury. Keanu Kinney, before his price rise, not necessarily a price rise, but he'll obviously have an extra game before any price changes happen. Going down the list, honestly, nothing. I think there's nothing else really of note. Okay, so Ryan Papenhuyzen is probably the only guy here. Fletcher Sharp is fullback center wing, but he's not going to play fullback. Papenhuyzen. So 10% people are going him. It is a big savings on the top guys. It's over 200k. But without the goal kicking, he's not going to get the goal kicking back when Meany's in the side. It takes away a lot of his points. I would need to see a lot. Granted, I think the Storm are heavy favourites for the premiership this year. I'm gonna be honest. I'll be surprised. I think there'll have to be some big injuries to the Storm for them not to win the comp, or at least get. I think they're not certainties, but I think they're very good odds to get the minor premiership. I just think their team is so fucking stacked. Papenhuyzen should be fitter coming back. Munster should be good coming back from injury. Obviously big surgery, but he should. Hopefully he's good to go. Grant, Hughes, Eli Katoa. They bought Utakamanu. Their team is stacked, so I actually think for them it would be a bit of a failure if they don't, get a premiership in this window with their team being as good as it is at the moment. So I think the Storm are in for a very good season, and I wouldn't be shocked if they start hot. They take on Parramatta, who are not noted for defense for the last year. The problem with Pappy is that there's just so many attacking threats. The Storm could put on big points, and it's sort of been the way for the Storm. It's usually, unless they put on 50 points, then yeah, all of them going tons. Hughes, Grant, Munster, Pappy, Katoa, they're all getting tons, big tons. But if they just go 20 to 4, 30 to 6, whatever, just a big, a thumping, but nothing crazy, then it's usually like 2 of the big 4 get a big score and the other 2 have a backward seat. There's too many mouths to feed there at the Storm to justify it, in my opinion. I think it is a pod play, and maybe he does come out of the blocks fast. I just find it hard to think that after everything that's happened, he's going to get back to that, what he did a couple of years ago. And especially without the goal kicking, I just couldn't do it. But it is interesting. It is interesting. If you wanted to take a real left field punt, I don't hate it. Because again, like I said, typically the first few rounds, there are lower scores. So if you're spending, on Latrell Mitchell, Trbojevic, there's every chance that they lose money, and Pappenhausen could make money. So it might be a good little strategy early, but I think long term, those big guns are going to outscore Pappenhausen this year. So yeah, it is what it is. Going down the list, I mean, I don't know if I talked about Tracy, but he is dual centre wing. Obviously, you're not going to pick him up in fullback, but a dual centre winger / fullback. I don't really know why he's got the dual this year. Did he play? I feel like he played all his games of fullback last year. There may be a couple he played in the centres, but I guess we'll take it. It's not a bad shout. 600k in the centres as a starting fullback. I don't hate that idea. But yeah, not much else. I was just thinking Dane Laurie. How is Dane Laurie only fullback? Actually, no. I was thinking he played some 5'8", but no, he just played fullback. When Dylan Edwards was out last year, he didn't play in the halves. But this year, I don't think he will. But there's obviously a sneaky chance that he could partner Cleary. I don't think he would, but could happen. Not much else to go with there. The only other any cheapie. I mean, okay, you know what? The other thing. Okay, so the one thing out of the trials, right? The Sharks game. Very interestingly, Liam Eisen and also Kay Dykes. I don't know if they were injured. Maybe they had a niggle or an injury. I'm not too sure. But both of those guys who have been like stars in their lower grade for a couple of years now, both didn't play in the trials, which is very interesting, unless they had an injury that I'm not too sure about. William Kennedy was the starting fullback. Now, granted, there are a couple of big names. I mean, Kale Iro, who else played? There are a couple of notable players, obviously, in the Sharks, but not many. It was a very second string, lower grade side for the Sharks, and no sign of Eisen or Kay Dyke. So all of a sudden, there's a sniff that William Kennedy is not locked in for round one. Now, obviously, one trial isn't going to necessarily dictate if he gets picked, but I got to say, Kennedy did not. If it was a bit of a trial for Kennedy to get the spot, he didn't really do himself any favors. I don't even. He barely touched the footy. I don't even remember seeing him do anything of anything. Now, granted, the first 20 minutes or however long he played, like, it was just through the middle. Like, there wasn't much attack to go off. So, a little harsh, but yeah, he didn't really get involved. So, there is the off chance that a Liam Eisen or a Kay Dykes, probably Liam Eisen, I would expect or suspect, will get the spot. So, potentially, we got Isaiah Iongi and Liam Eisen as cheapie fullbacks to start the year. Eisen, obviously, played a couple of games last year. He is at 300k. How many did he play? Did he only play the one, or did he play a couple? He was obviously very good. He was very sharp. Plenty of work rate. Okay, yeah, he played one. I was like, what the hell's this? No, he played one. He got 60 and 80 minutes. He looked sharp. He looked good. It would be funny if there were Eisen and Iongi to choose from. I mean, to save 70k, I would definitely just go Iongi. I think it's also a safer route because you do have Will Kennedy in the wings if Liam Eisen struggles a bit. But obviously, Eisen playing for a better side, you would say. They do take on Penrith in round 1, so it's a tough early start. I still would go Iongi, but it's interesting to just keep an eye on potentially another cheapie option. But Iongi is the main one here. I mean, 50% of people are going him. I can't fault it because the more I think about it, right, and this is the thing, I've seen a lot of people say that you have to go 3-gun fullbacks, right? I've seen a lot of people say you have to go 3-gun fullbacks, and if one of the fullbacks struggles or Iongi is killing it, then it's easy to downgrade and just get in Iongi before the price changes. And yes, I agree that is easier, but it's not as simple as just saying I'm just going to downgrade and get Iongi in, because there's more to it. I mean, we just talked about, who was it? Kalyn Ponga last year started very slowly, started poorly. The Knights were off their game. Ponga wasn't looking good. A lot of people, and if that happened this year as well, right? So Ponga has a couple of 50s to start the season. All of a sudden you trade him down to Iongi, and then all of a sudden Ponga goes 100, you'd be fucking furious. So it's not, you trade your gun fullback down to Iongi, but you've missed out on, making your team better elsewhere to start the season, and you potentially could miss out on the big scores coming for the fullback if you just hold strong. So it's not as simple as just trading down to Iongi. I feel like people are just saying that, okay, if Iongi goes 70-70 and Ponga goes 50-50, or one of the other guys goes 50-50, then I just trade down to him and bank the cash. But it's not as simple as that, because you also then the other factor is you're banking on using one trade to go to Iongi, then you're using 1 or 2 trades because you're going to have 600k in the bank. So you're not just going to sit on 600k. So then you've got to trade out 2 other players, which granted you are going to be upgrading those players, but that's 3 trades right off the rip to bring in a cheapie. Now, I'm not saying that's the bad way to do it. I'm not saying going 3-gun fullbacks is a mistake. I have no idea. It really, no one knows. No one knows. You just have to take what you think is the best solution. You gotta find the team that looks good on paper for you. If you can make a team look good with 3-gun fullbacks, then so be it. Go for that. But I'm just finding the team structure looks a lot better with Iongi than 3-gun fullbacks. And my sort of 50-50 here is going Hines or 3-gun fullbacks, right? And again, it's not as straightforward as just going, let's say Hines versus Ponga, because I don't know. You might say Ponga is the better option out of those two, but the difference is you can have a cheapie in your fullback spot. So Iongi, he might not absolutely blitz it, but let's be real, I'd be shocked if he doesn't score 40 to 50 in just a mediocre performance, and then throw on a bit of an attack that goes up to 60-70 pretty comfortably as a fullback. He's got good work rate. He's a tackle buster. The Eels, I think, will be an attacking upside team with Moses there, with Brown there. They're going to be attacking upside, so you can have a great cheapie. Obviously, he could really stink, but I don't know. The chances of him going 30s, I think, are pretty low. It is a tough first game for sure. They do take on the Storm in round 1, so he could go low. But you can have a cheapie, potential gun fullback as your cheapie. In the halves, if you're not going Nico Hines, right, you're going to go. There's no good cheapies I'm not including Duffy because I don't, even if Duffy plays the first game or a couple of games, I think it's Clifford's spot. It's just the fact he might be missing through injury. So you're going to have to spend, I don't know, who's the next up? Is Lewis Dodd halfback or is he just 5'8"? What halfbacks would you go? Because it's like, it's two-gun fullbacks, and Iongi's a cheapie, and it's Cleary and Hines if you go on the cheapie, or if you go on three-gun fullbacks, then you're going Cleary and Lewis Dodd, who's 300k, and he might not kill it. He might only get like 40s to 50s and make like barely any cash. So it's not as simple as just saying like Hines versus Ponga. And obviously you don't even, it might not even be two-gun halfbacks. You might want to spend more in your back row, more in your center. Like if you go Iongi, you get the potential great cheapie option as fullback, and you can spend 600k on a center winger. You can upgrade a fucking Jesse Arthurs to a Ruben Garrick, or I don't know if you could quite do that, but Brian Toro or someone like that, you know. So it's a difficult choice, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just leaning towards the cheapie fullback. I just think it's too good to pass up. And I understand the people that say, yes, if he's killing it, then downgrade, but it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as just downgrading one of those guys. Because what if let's say you go Trbojevic, Mitchell, Ponga, right, to start, and let's say Trbojevic and Ponga absolutely killing it. They got 108, like they're killing it. You would never trade them out. They're absolutely on fire. They're smoking it. Mitchell comes out and goes 60 first round and then 70 second round. Iongi comes out and goes 50 first round and then 65 second round. What do you do then, right? Iongi is set to make big money, right? And he's looking good. He hasn't quite gone massive, but he's looking good. He's about to make big coin. Mitchell is going to lose a bunch of cash, but he's still scoring pretty well. Or even if Mitchell goes like 70 the first round and then 80 the second round, you have that choice then. Are you going to downgrade? You're probably not. So you potentially miss out on this incredible cheapie from the get-go. And again, it's not. I don't think it's the bad decision. I'm just more talking in the sense of the people that are saying you have to go three-gun fullbacks, and you can just easily downgrade to Iongi if he's going well. But it's not necessarily that easy. So I'm in the camp of Iongi and two-gun fullbacks. Don't get me wrong, after trials, if Iongi isn't looking that good, then yeah, I could definitely change my mind and just go three-gun fullbacks. But at the moment for team structure, I think I'm going Iongi and two-gun fullbacks. Tom Trbojevic locked in. Then it's out of Mitchell and Ponga, and I'm undecided. The trials are going to hopefully help me. Hopefully we get confirmation if Cody Walker is fit and firing for round one. If he's not, if Walker is in doubt, then I think I'm just going to take the punt on Ponga. They do have a good draw. Mitchell, I do love Mitchell, but and again the other thing with Iongi that I'm like, again, it's not as simple as what I'm hoping it will be, but a little plan that I'm thinking of is hopefully, you know, one of the big fullbacks. I mean, Tedesco, any of them. Mitchell, if I don't go Mitchell, or if I don't go Ponga, or Drinkwater, or Reece Walsh, or one of these guys, even Keanu Kinney, before if he starts killing it before his price rise. If Isaiah Yongi comes out and goes really, you know, without going like ton, but he goes really solid the first few weeks, makes some good coin. One of these other guys, like one of these big guns is like, I mean, they don't have to, but you would expect one of them to probably underwhelm and drop some cash. So the hope is that we can hopefully trade up Iongi to one of these fallen guns early-ish on in the season without having to spend a bunch of cash. And it can be not necessarily a sideways trade, I mean, depending how it goes, but hopefully it can be something like that. That's a little plan, because I don't think Iongi is going to be a keeper, obviously, but you never know. And also, the other thing to factor in, you don't have to bring in a fullback. I keep forgetting that. You probably are. Like, I think, let's be real, I think three fullbacks is going to be the way to go. But you could just go an extra gun center winger. You could definitely take a flyer on a center winger who has a good draw coming up as the flex position, because yeah, I talked about it before in the center wing, but like a Dom Young, if they have a rough start to the season, drop some coin, taking a flyer on a Dom Young, he drops out. If he gets fucking negative 20 like he did for me last year, or if he goes 160, then it's a masterstroke. So there's more to the flex than just going 3 fullbacks. And I think as the season plays out, there'll definitely be some opportunities to take a little bit of a flyer on some center wingers, which the flex could work pretty well for that. Because if we look at, I guess, around Origin, I mean, I guess, yeah, Tedesco is going to be available. There's going to be some gun fullbacks available over Origin. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. You could definitely take some pod routes with the flex in the center wing later in the season. But I think at the moment I am leaning towards the cheapie. But we'll have to find out how trials are looking, how Iongi is shaping up with the Eels backline. I mean, I think it's just like with Moses and Brown, I think there's points on offer. Like that's the biggest takeaway. It is a rough round 1 start, but that's like, you know, whatever. I mean, the Storm weren't great defensively last year. They definitely leaked some points. So again, the round 1 typically is a bit lower scoring regardless. So yeah, if Iongi doesn't go flash hot round 1, it's not panic stations, but that's what I'm leaning towards. Not much else to really talk about. I mean, the fullbacks, other than Trbojevic and me, who's locked in, it's a bit of a toss of the coin for the other one. And I don't know. I don't know. That is, I mean, again, I know I keep harping on about going the cheapie, but the one thing that don't get me wrong, I still am tempted by the 3-gun fullbacks, just because I then don't have to make the tough decision out of Mitchell and Ponga. That's the main reason. Then I don't have to take the 50-50 on one of them, but it is what it is. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. There's not much else to talk about. I mean, the fullbacks it's a big decision. It's a big position, but there's not. It's one of the there's not like other guys you can really go for. It's not like a position you're going to go for value. You go in the big guns, or in this case with the flex, you go on a cheapie. So that pretty much wraps it up. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the positional discussion analysis. The next video, I'm going to remake my team with all my thoughts in action. And we'll see. We'll see what we come up with. Maybe when I reveal my team, I'm gonna have 3-gun fullbacks. Maybe I'll have the money to really splurge, or I don't think I will. But we'll see. We'll see what the team's shaping up like. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.